Your life journey doesn't stand still, and neither should your wealth. Welcome to Wealth on the Move, the podcast. Hello, and we are back. I shouldn't say we are back. I am back at the Wealth on the Move, the podcast. I'm your host, Will Hoffman, founder and president of Hoffman Wealth Management. Unfortunately, Bryn is not able to join us today, as like probably most regions in the Northeast/Midwest, winter has taken its toll, and so has the flu. So we are bouncing that around our house for sure, our office for sure. And Bryn, wish you get well soon. Can't wait to have you back at the office. But we need to get some podcast episodes recorded. So I am flying solo for the first time. I am flying solo. So I don't know what to expect. We've got some things to talk about and some upcoming episodes to discuss. So we are going to talk today about the FIRE movement. And what that means is financially independent and retiring early. Now, we know that means something different for everybody, but what this has been is, and I don't know why they call it a movement, kind of has always been the mission, right? Get as wealthy as possible and work as little as possible. But now there's some structure to it. There's some influence behind it. So we're going to talk about that. And what we're going to do is we're going to break this down into a couple segments and then talk about some upcoming episodes we're going to have as a result of this FIRE movement, because it's important. It's what folks are focusing on because, quite frankly, we are not meant to go to work, earn a paycheck, pay bills, and do it again the next day. American consumer is the most profitable and productive member of the global society. We are meant to do much more than this. We want to do much more than this. We want to travel. We want to see the world. We want to create. We want to influence. And this FIRE movement is behind that. So we're going to talk about that. That's why it's important to me. That's why we're in business every day, is to help folks become financially independent. And ideally, that means being able to retire early and start doing the things that you want to do. I'm always brought back in this conversation to the movie. We're going to talk about a few movies today, but the movie Up in the Air with George Clooney and Anna Kendrick, where they meet with the gentleman who's losing his job and, says, when did you give up on your dream? When did you give up? I think the guy wanted to be a chef. And he said, when did you give up on your dreams? How much did they have to pay you to give up on your dreams? So I think it's always something I come back to, and that's why we're in business. I hope that's why all my peers are in business as well. And that's to help folks fund their lives, their dreams, the things that they want to do, to create and to be the best versions of themselves. So there's some main topics. We're going to break down FIRE, the pillars of FIRE, and how to navigate this yourself. The three biggest things that you can do is, one, you have to save aggressively. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You could strike oil. You could win a lottery. You could have a business or an idea that somebody pays you a lot of money for, and then have that be it. But for the majority of us, we are saving aggressively in one way or another so that we can achieve that level of financial independence. You do have to invest smartly. You do have to build wealth through investments, whether that's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, portfolio management that we do, through real estate, any other vehicles, any other businesses that you think are worth investing in that could have a nice significant payday down the road. And then the other thing is controlling expenses and lifestyle choices that do align with your long-term goals. Those are the three main pillars, because then there are, just like anything else, there are different kinds of ways to be financially independent. There's the lean way, the lean FIRE, that just involves living a very simple, minimalist lifestyle, that you don't need much, you don't want much, and you've saved enough that can fund that life. Doesn't leave much room for expenses beyond the essentials. Again, like I mentioned, we're going to talk about another movie, Seth Rogen's character in the movie Knocked Up. If you remember, he was, I think it's like a taxi ran over his foot, and he won a settlement of like $32,000, and he was trying to make that last as long as he possibly could without working. And he was down to like $10,000 when he met Katherine Heigl. And I just always thought, like, when I read the definition of lean fire, that's the type of scenario I think about. Very minimalist, doesn't spend on much more than the essentials, and is comfortable and happy with that. And by all means, if that's, I think a lot of us would kill for that minimalist lifestyle sometimes, and the mindless worry that could go along with that. Other type of fire is coast fire, and that's saving so that you no longer need to make any contributions and can coast into retirement. And, you don't have to save anymore. You don't have to invest anymore. You don't have to change jobs or climb a corporate ladder anymore. You can just kind of downshift and coast into the age of retirement where you do reach that financial independence. There's also fat fire. Fat fire is kind of the opposite of lean fire, where you plan on living a lavish lifestyle. And that requires aggressive everything, aggressive saving, aggressive investing, maybe a bit of luck, whether it's the business idea that takes off, or you find yourself in the right position where lightning strikes more than once. But that's that fat fire where you're traveling around the world and really living it up. And then there's barista fire. Barista fire is, being able to retire and have a part-time job, where you mainly maybe want benefits, take on a side gig like working as a barista, and supplement your income, but not with anything that was your original career or original business model. We're going to have an entire episode about this, so I'm not going to get too deep into this now, but one way to achieve any type of financial independence or retire early is potentially leveraging equity compensation. And what we mean by equity compensation are things like stock options, restricted stock units, or RSUs. Understanding how they differ and how they work, and the key terms is very, very important. Again, we're going to have an entire episode where we talk about how to use these stock options to achieve financial independence. But you do have to have some strategies in place. You have to have some strategies for timing the RSU sales. And again, it's your company. You work for them. You know a lot about the ins and outs of the company. So timing those RSU sales becomes very important to maximize whether it's a great few years for the business, whether it is the great product launch or something, but also considering the tax efficiency, understanding the difference between long-term and short-term gains, ordinary income. If you do have RSUs as part of your compensation, we did a great video about the form that you can file so that you can prepay the taxes. It's called an 83B election form that allows you to pay your taxes upon issue rather than sale. So maybe you can save yourself some tax dollars, specifically if there is a huge run-up in the company stock. I'd encourage you to check out our YouTube channel and watch that video and learn a bit about what the 83B election is and how to file that. But also, and this is kind of the downfall of relying on RSUs for that financial independence or early retirement. You do have to be mindful of the fact that a lot of your wealth could be tied up in the performance of one company. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous whether you know everything about that company, whether it's your company. It's kind of the life of an entrepreneur that I live. Being able to diversify as soon as is reasonably possible makes a good bit of sense for you to think about. Building cash cushions just to make sure you're avoiding any risk or anything. But some of the common pitfalls are relying too heavily on that single stock, or even missing execution deadlines when you can't sell. Because when it comes to RSUs, you are kind of limited as to when you can sell an investment and when you can't. There's common blackout periods that you want to be concerned with. So making sure you understand all of that. We're going to have an entire episode on RSUs, how to execute these, questions to ask, things to consider, emotions and things that get involved with it, with having such close ties to a stock and how to execute against it. So stay tuned in this series on financial independence and the FIRE. Another thing to consider, and this is really an episode I'm looking forward to having a guest on, their side hustles. We are hearing that phrase used more and more every day. And, side hustle aside, in my opinion, we are in such a great time in our history when it comes to the ability to earn from multiple investment streams, multiple income streams, just by doing, what I'm doing right now, having things like a podcast, having things like a YouTube channel, being able to monetize those, having multiple business ventures. I'll tell you, somebody that I follow and listen to a lot is somebody by the name of Cody Sanchez, who has built multiple streams of income in business. I wouldn't call them passive. And quite frankly, the way she executes against it, I wouldn't even call them side hustles. She just hustles and has some great business lines, things like laundromats, and ways that you can have money being earned for you while you're in the midst of your 9 to 5, while you're in the midst of running your company or growing your primary income stream. There's a lot of things that can be done that are also creating wealth and building wealth to help you achieve that financial independence sooner. Things like the business of influence are just one way. And we're digging in and looking for a guest to have right now to be able to help us understand these things better. Things like consulting in your industry, products and courses and newsletters and things that you can be selling on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Real estate investments. Although I'm going to say this, and I think I've said this before, the folks that I know that are in the real estate business and are using, whether it's rental properties or commercial properties as their primary business model, that's not side hustling. And there's nothing passive about that. Those folks are working exceptionally hard. And it's something that you need to understand getting into, that I don't know that passive income is going to be the right term to use there. There's not much passive about that. Again, I mentioned content creating and podcasting. I'm so excited for my kids and the avenues that there are to achieve wealth in the future. I'm partly envious that these folks get to create their lives and profit from it as influencers. My wife, Jamie, and I are pretty addicted to a travel YouTube channel called Kara and Nate. And we are so jealous. I look at her all the time and say, man, we missed it. Because, at 27, these kids, folks, adults, kids, whatever, they picked up a camera, they picked up their passport and had saved to be able to spend a year on the road. And because of YouTube, they compounded that into 2 years. And now they're about to complete a decade. They've seen 110 different countries around the planet. They've built a business. They've built multiple businesses from this. And again, it's just something that I'm envious of the life they get to live. And like I said, with 3 young kids at home, I'm really excited about what the future has in store for their ability to profit from these things and not have to have a traditional 9 to 5 and build businesses in much more mobile and interesting and compelling ways. There are some things that go along with side hustles, especially if you do have a very intense, demanding career. You want to automate as much as possible. You want to make sure you're avoiding burnout and steering clear of time boundaries. But again, we're working to find a side hustle coach or an influencer to help us with that topic. Another thing we're going to have really some deep discussion on is there's an emotional component to FIRE. We had Dr. Crosby on a few weeks ago discussing his most recent book, but a lot of the work he has done has been the psychology of wealth. The Laws of Wealth was another great book of his where he dives really deep into the psychology of making investment decisions and making wealth decisions. When it comes to FIRE, you have to, because of the emotions that are involved, you're going to have to really be cognizant of them and work through that and be a lot more emotionally intelligent when it comes to, it's really hard when the market is down to make an investment. We know that logically that's the best time. JP Morgan that says when there's blood in the streets, that's when your money goes in. And that's a tough decision to make. but that's how you achieve that financial independence faster, is making tough wealth management decisions when every emotion tells you otherwise, and really turning off your belly and listening to your brain becomes very, very important. But then after that, once you've achieved the financial independence, listen, not everybody in your kenosphere is going to be achieving that at the same time. You're not all going to be retiring at the same time. So now that you've achieved this and have the independence, what are you going to do? You know, who's going to be able to have the flexibility that you have in your calendar to go where you want, when you want, without without the restriction. You know, that's all of our ultimate goals. I would assume is to achieve that level of the independence. However, we're not all going to achieve at the same time. So, you know, making sure that you're having some fulfillment after you've achieved that is important. And I'll always, you know, be there. Our kids need volunteers in every way. They need volunteers to help them maybe learn this fire at an early age, and once you've achieved it, become a great mentor for them. You know, there's so many charities that need help that you could find fulfillment, and I would always encourage folks to explore that route. But you know, there's going to be a psychological transition to not controlling your paycheck anymore by your effort, and now it's by your investments. Um, so just being mindful of that. Maybe we'll get Dr. Crosby back on to talk about that emotional side of financial independence, or find somebody else. But we're gonna talk about this, and this is going to be to me, it's a very important 4 or 5 episode series, because you know, that's ultimately what we love to do with our clients, is help them achieve that financial independence. For me, independence has been at the cornerstone of how I live my life. Well, I own my own business because while I never had a bad boss, I don't know that I would have been a great employee. I love being able to work from where I want, when I want. You know, this business gives me that. Um, I love being able to work with who I want and being able to make the hiring decisions. You know, gives me that element. You know, so independence has been at the cornerstone of a lot of the decisions that I have made in working with so many clients over 22 years. It is really, maybe heartbreaking is the word, when they are sitting in your office and they can't stand going to work anymore. They know that there's more to this world than sitting and commuting in traffic, going to work 9 to 5 in a cubicle, going home, paying their bills, eating supper, going to sleep, and waking up and doing it all over again. And that's you know, if I had a passion project for this business, I had you know, a mission for this podcast, it would be to help folks achieve this financial independence. Retire early, you know, that comes with along with the financial independence. But so this is an important project for me. This is important episode or series of episodes for I know for Bryn and I, and for our firm, and we're looking forward to recording this. But just wanted to take this opportunity to give you an idea of what is to come. You know, if you have any questions, have anything else that you would like to discuss, you know, make sure you reach out to me on LinkedIn. You know, when we post these episodes on LinkedIn or on our company Facebook page, I know you can make some comments down there as to things you would like to see, or a direction you would like maybe some of these episodes to go. And that doesn't need to just apply to these FIRE episodes. If there are topics that you would like to hear or see, please reach out to us. If there are books you would like us to cover, we've started this Wealth on the Move book series, and just had my good friend Drew Boyer, who launched his new book, Hip Hop X Finance, last week on the episode, or on the podcast. If there's books that you would like us to discuss, or if you have ideas for guests, or want to be a guest yourself, please feel free to reach out. This is kind of I'm sure in the podcast world they would call this a filler episode that's going on in between some important episodes. And, you know, we're kind of getting you prepared for what's to come. And again, we're excited about this. We love the direction this is going. some future guests are going to revolve around cybersecurity and some things that we should be doing to make sure that our money is protected and our identities are protected when it comes to kind of the ever evolving world of global cybersecurity and cybersecurity threats. We're looking for some other authors and have some ideas and some financial and business coaches that we're going to have on through this. But again, if there's anything you'd like to hear, please reach out to us and let us know. You can always contact us through our website, hoffmanwealth.com, or reach out to me through LinkedIn. But until next time, make sure you keep your wealth moving, and we will talk with you soon.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Hoffman Wealth Management. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.